Hello everybody and welcome back to Red Eagle Politics. Make sure you like this video down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So a big white pill earlier this week, the Supreme Court has voted to strike down Roe v. Wade, or so it seems according to a leaked draft opinion on the Dobbs v. Jackson case that was written by Samuel Alito, one of the leading conservative Supreme Court justices. And it all but confirms that Roe is on its way out, at least right now. And beyond this point, this is something that has never happened before. You usually don't see a leak like this. And there's a lot of implications that a lot of people are talking about. How will it implicate the midterms? Is abortion going to be outlawed for good? Hopefully the answer is that it won't impact the midterms much and that abortion will be outlawed for good, but it is a little bit more complicated than that, and we are going to dive into it. But first, I have to tell you guys about my good friends over at Noble Gold. So over the years, you probably tried different investments in stocks and mutual funds. So you know they can be volatile and unpredictable. But with inflation running at its highest rate for 40 years, do you want volatility and uncertainty? Being able to sleep at night knowing your investment is not about to crash is worth its weight in gold. And speaking of gold, if you've been jumping from one investment idea to the next, a gold IRA with Noble Gold is perfect for you. A reliable hedge against inflation just fell in our laps with gold. You can shield your gains from taxes. You keep the real value of your wealth. You own a global asset, something tangible, and you can help protect your wealth against an economic crash. What's not to like? And this month, for every IRA above $20K, you'll get an incredible 3-ounce silver American Virtue coin completely free as a thank you. Call 877-646-5347 now to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Again, that is noblegoldinvestments.com. So we have this case here, this leak. Who leaked it? We don't really see many leaks coming from the Supreme Court. This is unprecedented. And it is evident here that this leak was likely done, in my opinion, by a staffer of one of the liberal justices, maybe at the hand of the liberal justices. I think maybe a Sotomayor staffer leaked it because Sotomayor told them to leak it. We really don't know. Some people said it was Ketanji, but she's not really on the court yet, so it couldn't have been her. But beyond that point, it's very clear that this is intimidation. They're going to try to do this to ramp up the energy on the left because the right has the energy factor at an unprecedented level so far in terms of the midterms, in terms of the anger at Biden. And beyond that point, they're trying to go out of their way to intimidate the conservative justices into caving on their opinion about this. And we know that it was a 5-4 decision, apparently. Roberts, shocker, had sided with the liberal justices. And we understand that all three of the justices that Trump appointed, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and ACB, apparently are ruling to get rid of Roe. And will that stand because they've been so wishy-washy, because they've been known to cave into the establishment and public pressure? We just don't know if this is going to stand. So what will this do exactly? This is the real question. What happens if Roe is gone? Well, abortion basically gets thrown back to the states. That's all that it does. And about half the states have it banned, half the states don't, and it's definitely going to give a lot of these swing states a little bit more leeway with their abortion laws. Polls have consistently shown a lot of Americans support abortion, but in a very minuscule capacity, and that number is shrinking, and an increasing amount of Americans want some form of abortion restriction. I mean, the people that support outlawing abortion after the first trimester is significantly high, and what Roe does is it caps viability at 20 weeks or so. And you could look at this graph here. A lot of states actually, because of Roe, have abortions after 20 weeks. And we know that, like in Europe, which is a lot more liberal apparently on a lot of issues than the United States, especially social issues, for them it's like 8 to 12 weeks or so. Like a lot of the countries, except I believe Poland and maybe a couple of others, have legalized abortion, but it's only the first trimester. Yet in America, because of Roe, you see second trimester, third trimester abortions, and it is a slippery slope that is real. And now you're seeing people like Virginia Governor Ralph Northam talk about just disgusting things, talking about after-birth abortion, where they take the baby out of the womb and they then abort it. And it just never ends. Where do you draw the line? Where does life really begin? This is the question that nobody is really able to answer. And we understand that after a few weeks, the baby has its own brain waves, it has its own heartbeat. And we know that just 1 week after fertilization, the baby becomes its own entity. It has its own DNA. It has its own blood type, etc., to the point where they are not able to define it. And the scientific truth is that life begins at conception, but this is ignored for some reason. And there is no regard for human life whatsoever. We understand that abortion is none other than a satanic ritual. That's what it is. And it's disgusting. And this is what the left in this country represents. They don't care about human life in any capacity. They will do anything they can to dehumanize it. And this video is not necessarily going to be a video that debunks all of their abortion arguments. I could do a video talking about those arguments in the future if this definitely becomes a more ramped up issue. But it is absolutely disturbing that abortion is even legal to begin with, and we should not stop fighting until abortion is gone for good. But that's beside the point. What this does is it throws it back to the states. And we understand that Roe, in and of itself, was a horrendous constitutional decision. It was mainly done because of peer pressure. I mean, even Ruth Bader Ginsburg, of all people, has said in the past that Roe's decision and the reasoning for Roe made absolutely zero sense, and it didn't make any sense whatsoever. There is no constitutional precedent for it. There is nothing in the Constitution that exactly would indicate the ruling that they came to, especially when you consider the fact that life does begin at conception. So beyond that point, a lot of people, even on the right, are a little bit afraid of this because they view this as something that will energize the left ahead of the midterms. And I did a video back when Dobbs v. Jackson was initially being discussed back in, I believe, December, talking about the fact that Roe v. Wade would not likely impact the midterms, even if it is gone, and it may apparently seem like it's gone, which is a major win. But beyond that point, let's say that it did impact the midterms and Republicans would suffer major losses because of it. They're not going to, but let's say that they did, then what exactly is the purpose of politics? Do you just want to win elections, sit there and do nothing? Do you just want to focus on this, oh, the map is red? Or do you actually want to accomplish something and end the genocide of the unborn? That is really what it comes down to. Do you want to actually enact policy that you want, or do you just want to appease the opposition enough to the point where you believe that you're going to get enough votes to win elections in the future? Why do you win elections if you don't plan on using your power for good? These are all questions that a lot of these neocons, the right-wing election mafia, basement caucus are not exactly able to answer, because all they do is they sit there and they masturbate to this idea of a red electoral map and nothing more. They don't actually care about policy changes in this country. They don't actually care about conservatism. They just care about winning elections, and they listen to the same people on the left that will say, well, this is a very popular decision, and anybody who tries to go out here and strike it down is going to suffer major electoral losses. Well, I don't believe that's the case. Is the left going to be a little bit more energized because of this? I believe so. I don't think it's going to be by a major margin. And already you're seeing the fact that this is coming out now instead of later. We understand that politics changes quite a bit in this country. This is something that won't even be on the minds of a lot of voters by November in this day and age. And already they're squandering their October surprise in May. That's apparently what's happening right now. But beyond that point, we actually have a good amount of data on this, looking at some of these polls here. What percentage of voters identify as pro-choice versus those who identify as pro-life? And 49% of voters, according to the recent Gallup polling, identify as pro-choice. 47% identify as pro-life. That is basically 50-50. And again, this is an election that's coming up that is a referendum on Joe Biden and his failures as president, more so than it is on abortion. The left might be a little bit more energized because of this, but they'll already take the L on the issue. And this is true. And you look at some of these other polls that say, hey, well, there are some polls that show like 60% of people on average support Roe v. Wade being in place, but a lot of them don't understand what Roe v. Wade is or what Roe v. Wade does. And if you rephrase the question like Richard Barris does, a very well-respected pollster, and I'm sure as we get closer to the election, more discussion is going to be taking place, the support for Roe v. Wade will dip, because the real question surrounding Roe is, do you think elected representatives in your state should decide abortion law instead of the Supreme Court? And if you ask the question that way, instead of framing the question in a very liberal left-wing way, you're going to see a very high percentage of the population support overturning Roe, to the point where it is likely to be a wash. And talking about what side gets the most riled up about abortion, historically, it has been the right in this country that has. I mean, in 2020, Donald Trump won voters that cared the most about abortion 89-9. Yes, it was just 3% of the population, but at the same time, it just shows that the majority that care that much is strongly in favor of life. It is not in favor of infanticide. And beyond that point, in Virginia, which took place in the following months after the Texas law, abortion was on the minds of a lot of leftists, and a lot of left-wingers were being drawn to the polls because of abortion. You saw that 8% of voters cared the most about abortion, and they voted for Glenn Youngkin by a 58-41 margin in Virginia. So it is possible that you could see that number jump from 3 to 8% like it was in 2021. Maybe that's going to jump up to like 15 to 20, but probably won't jump up far beyond that point. And even if Democrats have like a 60-40 advantage because of it, it's not going to turn out like a ridiculous amount of Democrats to the point where the red wave is going to collapse. Oh, wow, we might lose 5 House seats, 1 Senate seat. Oh, maybe a governorship that was super close goes the other way. But who cares? At the end of the day, this is not just about a remedial election victory. This is about saving the unborn, ending infanticide. And I know Roe needs to go, but it's not enough. We understand a lot of these states that we have power in. When we take power, when we do win the midterms, because we will, we need to take more action against abortion. And hopefully, like in a state like Texas and a state like Arizona, where you will see a lot of action taken against abortion, you will see a lot of these pathetic, miserable, liberal voters leave the states, let them go to California, let them go to New York so they can kill their children there, because they're not going to be doing it here, most certainly. And you're going to see states like Texas, Arizona, a lot of these states that are swing states that lean right, a lot of liberals that really do care about the issue are going to be leaving them, and they are going to be moving to blue states. And hopefully we can have a strong executive that takes power in 2024, and we can do everything we can do nationwide to make sure that we can restrict abortion further from there and end this ridiculous, satanic atrocity that's been happening in our country for so long, once and for all. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. Please like this video down below, comment down below, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Follow me on social media. The links are all in the description down below. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Red Eagle, out.